other partners to organize the second edition of Infrastructure Development Summit. I would like to convey my thanks to all those who have rallied behind this cause of paramount importance, the cause for development. Ladies and gentlemen, infrastructure is the backbone of development. It is quite clear. It is the very foundation for development. It is through robust and sustainable infrastructure, cost of production is minimized. Productivity of workforce is enhanced. Economic and industrial growth is propelled. And ultimately the welfare of society is boosted. The significance of infrastructure development to drive overall development is very important. In the development landscape, Nepal is lagging behind due to the lack of inadequate infrastructure. Lack of basic infrastructure has forced us to witness an average of below 4% economic growth over the last decades. Indispensable partner in this endeavor to address the existing infrastructure gap, public-private partnership is not a luxury. To develop the basic infrastructure, mobilization of private sector is not a luxury. Aware of this, Government of Nepal is committed to work in partnership with private sector to bridge the infrastructure gap. We have adopted the policy of 3P, necessary acts, regulation and guidelines have been streamlined. Infrastructure development in Nepal has been constrained by many factors. Constrained by geography, constrained by limited capital, constrained by investment gap. Lack of adequate investment is a major bottleneck. Distinguished guest, our World Bank estimate says that we need to invest between 8% to 12% of national income this decade to address the infrastructure gap. This investment need can only be met by the involvement of private sector. And human resources can be utilized to meet our development economy. Last month when I was there in one of the major summit for clean energy and green energy in UAE, very important interaction have been organized, and I was really encouraged to appeal the foreign investor in this country for clean and green energy. I want to regale you about the trilateral economic cooperation. It has very positively responded by both the leader from our neighbors. To realize this potential, cross can bear remarkable fruits of development. Moreover, collaboration among the private sector can be a multiplier in infrastructure development. Regional initiatives to connectivity can propel the cusp of transformation in infrastructure development. Development of infrastructures such as highways, such as railways, airways, infoways, transways and waterways, as well as electricity, telecommunication and water supply are essential in promoting economic development. According to my judgment, among them, our commitment and our connectivity in our spirit is most essential and prime importance. Our efforts to make the country load shedding free has been encouraging, and we want to maintain the momentum to generate required energy to enhance our agricultural productivity, expand industrial base and promote service sector. I hope that we will see enhanced collaboration with our international partner as well as foreign private investor in the days to come. As we are in the nascent stage of development, investment in infrastructure full of potential. We have liberal policy in foreign investment and we remain committed to further improving it. Our labor policy is market by market friendly. Abundance of cheap labor is another asset. In ease of doing business, we rank second among the South Asian countries. Ladies and gentlemen, 2015 devastating earthquake and a series of aftershocks hits us that has damaged various infrastructure. We have an important task of rebuilding this infrastructure.
Any problem of investment in this country? Every investor would love to come. The reason I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of very successful foreign direct investments in Nepal. You name any companies who have invested in Nepal in the last 15-20 years, they are most profitable. They are profitable, better profitable than India and China. If the companies are from Britain, they are profitable far better profitable than in Britain. I give you some example. Dabur India is more profitable here in Nepal than in Dabur in India. Surya Nepal is doing extremely good. It is also a joint venture investment from India. We have companies like SBI Bank coming in Nepal. I have seen their profitability in India and I see their profitability in Nepal.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Hope you enjoyed that. Now I'd like to request Mr. Vishnu Kumar Agrawal, Vice President of CNI, to brief the highlights of Nepal Infrastructure Summit.
Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Pushp Kamal Dahal, Honorable Minister for Railways of Government of India, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, our guest of honor, Honorable Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport, Mr. Ramesh Mishra, Honorable Minister for Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, Mr. Jeevan Bahadur Shahi. Vice President is the backbone of any economy. Our neighboring countries, China and India, have proved it to a household and overall improvement in standard of living for general public. In case of Nepal, there is a big gap in between required and actual infrastructure, which is also a great opportunity of investment. Awareness about infrastructure has increased the spending of government in this sector, out of which 2/3 is expected to come from private sector. This shows the need for high and sustained investment, especially in the sector of infrastructure. Experience of successful countries has shown that it is only through participation and investment from the private sector development can be
established to implement that policy. But these are still to deliver visible results, calling for further efforts by the government and other stakeholders, and the discussion of effective ways in this summit. To move forward, we underscore the importance of further efforts needed to improve business environment, aiming at greater private investment. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me briefly touch on ADB's contributions to help me meet the summit objective. ADB has been working with Nepal since its establishment in 1966 and has provided more than $5 billion in financial and technical assistance, of which some 75% has been provided to assist in building infrastructure covering energy, transport, urban. Working closely with other development partners, ADB is proudly assisting the government to prepare the long-term development vision and strategy, in which define effective pathways for accelerating infrastructure investment is most critical. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, this summit is indeed timely and momentous. It will provide an excellent opportunity to discuss a range of the agenda items to boost the public and private infrastructure. Please let me once again extend my congratulations to the summit organizers to convene this important event. ADB is glad to make a contribution to its discussion and ready to help implement the recommendation of the summit with the concerned parties of the government and other stakeholders. Thank you for your attention.
Role in the tourism development of Nepal, but poor infrastructure has been one of the hindrance in the Nepal tourism competitiveness. So there is a clear need for increased investment in infrastructure and other basic services in the country. Only the government investment and involvement in infrastructure and public services is not enough. So it implies the need for a greater role of the private sector by believing public-private partnership, PPP, as a way of developing the country's infrastructure. So the government of Nepal has adopted a policy of encouraging and promoting the private sector participation in the national economy.
Really leveraging these two invaluable assets that is available in Nepal, and therefore making this sometimes that I'm already married. So this is my girl, so we are introduced. But sometimes the parents decide we should get married too. But end of the day, even if boy chooses his girl and decides to marry, is ultimately the blessings of parents are required for a successful journey in life. And here we have a Prime Minister himself present to bless the possible marriages between an investor and in Nepal as well as from outside. And therefore I am sure this marriage not only be successful but will be also come. I can safely say Nepal is a country, Nepal is an economy where we can get maximum growth in the years to come. So therefore all of you, I must also congratulate you. Those who have come from India, those who have come from other countries, that you have come to the right place at the right time to invest. Otherwise keep investors in Nepal. And therefore today, this morning itself, I was very fortunate. We handed over a letter to the Minister of Physical Infrastructure that we commit to make $340 million of investment only in the roads and one bridge. $340 million of investment we will make today, and this is not counting the other investment that we are going to make to other networks and other infrastructure developments. This does not include power sector investment. This does not include investment that is going to come from railways. This is not going to look at the investment that is going to come from some of the very good delegates who are here from FICCI and others. I am sure you have come with your bags and you will definitely make that investment. And therefore, all of this is not calculated into this, but this is something which is a commitment from India for Nepal's growth. Because we believe, and I just told this to the minister, that we already have emotional connectivity. Now we have to provide physical connectivity. So sometimes you may have physical connectivity, but not have emotional connectivity. So what is better? To have emotional connectivity as a beginning of building up new physical connectivity. And therefore we are committed to make that investment, and will make sure that Nepal's full potential of growth is realized by making this investment possible from India. I have told the Honorable Prime Minister when he was visiting India, and we had a very good civic reception in his honor, and I told him then, and I want to remind him again, that sometimes people ask, what is the relationship between Nepal and India? Who is the elder brother, who is the younger brother? I said there is nothing like younger brother and older brother. Nepal और भारत एक दूसरे के जुड़वे भाई हैं. It is not a question of whether we are younger or elder, and therefore we will make sure that the growth potential of Nepal is fully realized, and we will make that happen. I think while we make this development, but despite that we are suffering the adverse impact, and therefore can we not think about developing a project in which the entire ecosystem of the Himalayan region can be made climate proof by working on some strategies which will ensure a long-term sustainability of the livelihood of millions of people living around this area. And therefore that again something which you can seriously think about, and also work on some of the very important issues besides infrastructure. I would look at it, because once the infrastructure is developed, we should also think about developing global supply chains, in which we like Nepal to be a partner, because India is already part of several global supply chains. Auto component manufacturing, India is a part of global supply chain. Generic manufacturing, generic drugs manufacturing, India is part of that. We will definitely be happy to make Nepal also an integral part of such global supply chains, and therefore we will definitely be happy. This is part of infrastructure, if you look at it in the long term, which will create employment. Because at the end of the day, the big challenge for the world is the growth will come and growth has to come, but along with growth, how do you create jobs? And for doing that, I think something like this will be critically important, and we'll be more than happy to work with Nepal to really realize this great potential. The entire electricity is purchased by India, and by doing that, the per capita income in Bhutan is the highest in the region. Only because we pay the royalty on that power that we purchase. We'll have many such ideas that we can work together, and therefore I really look forward to working with you. And my last point is just because my good friend from ADB is here, I think we should try to finance the infrastructure in Nepal. We should also think about getting some climate finance. Because this climate finance is something which can really come handy to a country like Nepal. Because as I said, Nepal is a country which is really vulnerable to climate change. And Nepal is a country which is going to create infrastructure. So very low cost climate finance which can be married with commercial finance. And if that both can be put into Nepal's infrastructure development, it will help the global community but also help Nepal in a great way. So we really look
at a new constitution which has adopted the liberal economic policy. Lot of legislations has promulgated to support the private investment. Some are in process too. The situation of law and order is better. Government policies are in favor of investment, and these are investment friendly. Electricity availability is being better, and we are trying to develop, enhance the quality of electricity. Nepal is best place for investment. This afternoon there was a session, and our chairperson of one of the session, and in that session I was talking about the four powers of Nepal, and we have 4 powers. I would like to call these powers 4 jaw. 4 jaw. One jaw, that is jala, water resources. Number 1. Other power, that is jaw, second jaw, it stands for Jameen, land, and the third, that is jungle, forest, and the 4th power, that is Janashakti, manpower. As our honorable guest, Honorable Suresh Prabhu correctly mentioned that we have very laborious, very honest, and a very energetic manpower who are spending their energy on abroad for very few wages. So